viewers, Iran is now preparing to bury its slain supreme leader Ali Khamenei as the impact of his death continues to ripple across the region. Reports say Khamenei will be laid to rest in the holy city of Mashhad in northeastern Iran, the city where he was born. According to reports citing the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a large public farewell ceremony is expected to be held in Tehran before the burial. Authorities have not yet announced a date for the burial. Khamenei was Iran's longest-serving head of state and only the second supreme leader since the Iranian Revolution. As the country's highest authority, he held ultimate power over key matters of state, including defense, economy, and education. Reports say he will be buried in the holy city of Mashhad, one of the most sacred cities in the country. Mashhad is also Khamenei's birthplace, as I mentioned, and the city where he grew up. The burial is expected to take place at the revered Imam Reza Shrine, one of the most important pilgrimage sites for Shia Muslims. The shrine houses the tomb of Ali al-Rida, the 8th Imam of Shia Islam, and attracts millions of pilgrims every year. Khamenei's personal connection to the site runs deep, as his father is also buried at the same site. Let's now show you the visuals, which we are getting for reference to help you understand the scale of what happened. These images show the compound associated with Ali Khamenei following what Israeli media described as a targeted strike. The mission was said to be ambitious and long in the making. Footage captures moment of impact inside the House of Leadership complex in Tehran, with smoke billowing from the site shortly after the explosion. Satellite images also indicate extensive structural damage across parts of the compound, with multiple buildings appearing heavily affected. Israeli media reports, in fact, are claiming the strike, in fact, hit the complex where Khamenei had reportedly been transferred. After Khamenei's death, in fact, Mojtaba Hosseini Khamenei has been elected as the next supreme leader of Iran. According to reports, Mojtaba, the son of Ali Khamenei, was chosen by Iran's Assembly of Experts to succeed his father. Ali Khamenei had no publicly designated successor. In the interim, a 3-member leadership council assumed the responsibilities of the supreme leader. The council, in fact, comprised Ayatollah Ali Reza Arafi, the President and Chief Justice. With the Assembly of Experts now electing the son as the Supreme Leader, Iran has formally named the next Supreme Leader. Let's tell you a little bit about who he really is. 56-year-old son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, second eldest son, and he was sanctioned by the US in 2019. He served in the armed forces. He maintains close ties with IRGC. He was chosen by the Assembly of Experts. So this is about the new supreme leader of Iran. Khamenei's death in a joint United States-Israel strikes has already triggered retaliatory missile and drone attacks across the Middle East, raising fears of a wider war involving neighboring states and non-state actors. He was a central religious and political figure of Shia communities from Lebanon to Pakistan. His death, in fact, sparked protest as well. With Khamenei gone, power dynamics are shifting. Powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and other security agency organs, in fact, could gain influence, potentially making Iran's policies more unpredictable, especially in proxy wars and foreign relations. Now, viewers, Iran sits on a key energy choke point, the Strait of Hormuz, through which a significant portion of the world's oil and gas exports flow. Escalation or threats to this route could push up global prices, which is already happening right now. Disruption is already underway because Iran has declared that it is shut, the Strait of Hormuz, and it has also warned of attacks in case ships try to cross over to the other side. The strike and ensuing conflict, in fact, has drawn widespread international condemnation and concern. Some nations view the action as illegal or destabilizing, potentially weakening global norms. While Iran's political system is unlikely to collapse immediately, the transition opens a period of internal uncertainty, political unrest, and unpredictable foreign policy behavior. That's what we are witnessing right now. Joining us on the broadcast is my guest. We have Matty Gil, former advisor to Ministry of Internal Security, joining us live from Tel Aviv. We also have with us retired Lieutenant General Asit Misri, who's a defense expert, and Dr. Dotan Avital, ex-commander of Israel's elite special forces. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us here on the broadcast today. But to you first, Matty Gil, your understanding, firstly, of the flip-flop in the statements that have been made by US President Donald Trump.
Well, I don't think that, thank you for having me, first of all. And I don't think that I'm in the best position to actually interpret the President of the United States. I think that one of his superpowers, and that's made him incredibly effective as a world leader, including in his very bold and courageous decision to create this new opportunity here in the region, is the fact that he is unpredictable. So therefore, he leaves all options open, and I think he's waiting to see how effective this will be. And just like he said himself in the statement when this war started, is that this is now creating an opportunity. And I think we'd like to see how the Iranian people, that we're all hopeful will take control of their country and take control of this opportunity. And if they do so, then we will be supportive of that, both Israel and the United States and all the allies that are involved here. And if they do not, then we'll have to see how long this will continue, whether it will be short or longer, and leaving the door open, of course, for any opportunity to negotiate a better future for Iran, for the Iranian people, and for the region.
Now, you have said that Trump is unpredictable, but this operation that we are seeing right now, that has plunged the entire Middle East into a big crisis today, was a joint operation. It was jointly launched by United States of America and Israel.
Correct. That is correct. And I would say this, what we are doing over the last week, and really if you take a look at it, it's over the last 3 years since Hamas, that was backed by Iran, opened up a war with Israel out of a place that the region was in relative peace. But over the last week, what we have done is work in accordance with the motto of never let a good crisis go to waste. And right now, Iran, which is a theocratic and brutal dictatorship that kills its own people, killed probably tens of thousands of people just 2 months ago, of their own people back in January, are at their weakest that they've ever been, due to the fact that they supported opening up a war in the region and were not able to defend themselves when we decided to take the war to their own borders instead of keeping it within our own borders of Israel. Okay. And thankfully, we have the support of the United States. So right now, over the last week, yes, we are taking control of this crisis opportunity to create a new future in the region that ranges all the way from India, all the way through Israel to the West, because Iran was a fundamental threat both to Israel, to the United States, and to the region, and to many of our allies in the region as well that are currently under attack and bombardment from them.
Matty Gil, can you tell us what is the objective now? Was there any exit plan when both these countries launched an attack on Iran? Because the first day, within hours of the first set of strikes on Iran, we got statements from US President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And at that time, the understanding was that the idea is to just, get rid of the existing regime. Now, Khamenei is dead. Another supreme leader is going to be there in Iran, and that's going to be his own son. So the regime, if you look at it right now, it hasn't really changed. Just one leader has gone. His son is now becoming the supreme leader.
So first of all, the stated objectives, and they remain to be so, are to remove the nuclear threat that could absolutely demolish Israel and demolish regional states in the region here, as well as threaten the United States and European countries that are allies of Israel and of the Western cause, and of course of India as well. They were building, so that's number one. That's always been and continues to be the number one objective. Number two is also to remove the threat of the ballistic missile capabilities that Iran was rapidly building and rebuilding, since a lot of them were taken out less than a year ago, last summer, in the 12-day war. So in those two things, those are immediate security threats to Israel, to the region, that were needed to be removed. Regime change right now, regime change is obviously upside, and I would look at that as an opportunity born out of this crisis, an opportunity born out of the bold decision-making of President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu, in the region, to be able to create this opportunity by weakening the regime due to the fact that we decided to take out the terrorist leadership, Khamenei and others, that were promoting terrorism, actively killing both their own citizens, as well as threatening ours and others throughout the region. So they have this opportunity, and now the Iranian people will have to take it and seize it if they would like a new future for their people.
What is the plan that US and Israel have at this point in time, given the current situation? Because Iran doesn't seem to be in a mood to back down, because we are getting reports of strikes in other parts of the Middle East. They are continuing. Iranian foreign minister, in fact, has also hit back at US President Donald Trump, saying what he has done is actually betrayal.
So I think right now, as a sports fan, there's such a thing that when your back is against the wall and you have nothing to lose, you call it a kitchen sink game. So right now, what Iran is doing is throwing everything in the kitchen sink to be able to survive as a regime, because they're at the weakest that they've ever been, probably in the last 40 years, since they first took over in a coup of the Iranian regime. And they have less capabilities than they've had in before, and they're trying to do everything they can to be able to maintain the regime. We are going to continue to weaken their military infrastructure, their security infrastructure, their terrorist infrastructure, both on the technological side, as well as, of course, on the military side. And just from these pictures that you see here of the compound, let me just explain one small thing. This was a surgical strike with great technology and great intelligence to be able to conduct it, which was highly effective. And if you look at the pictures there, you can see how dense the immediate area is. But really, the only compound that was hit was the compound of the terrorist leader, Khamenei, of this regime. And the people that were hit and killed there were not innocent civilians. They were leaders of a terrorist regime. They should have been targets. They were targets, and they were taken out. And I'm very proud of the fact that you see the only compound that was hit by a very massive strike was the terrorist compound of Khamenei, and all the surrounding buildings in a very dense area were not hit, which means we are doing this to take out a terrorist regime and not waging a war with the Iranian people. In fact, we would like the Iranian people, a great nation, to be able to take back their country.
Okay. You've called it a surgical strike, and any surgical strike of this magnitude requires, if not years, then at least months of planning. In this case, when did that start?
I think likely from all reports that you see, this strike and intelligence gathering and the plans to be able to conduct this war have been going on for decades. Not months, not weeks, not even years. We've been preparing to be able to defend ourselves against this terrorist regime, this brutal theocratic dictatorship, for decades, because they have been declaring war. And if there's one thing I think we have all learned in the last 3 years, is that when people take people seriously at what they say, and when they say we want to wipe Israel off the map, that is something that we have to take very seriously. Okay. So we've been preparing to defend ourselves accordingly.
Okay. One last question, Matty Gil, before I let you go. You have said that it's time now for Iranian people to take control. Now, this is something US President Donald Trump had also mentioned after he launched this operation with Israel on Iran. What are the options here on the table? I mean, what are we really looking at when we are saying that you want Iranians to take control? Like how? Are we looking at mass uprising? I mean, is there a leader? I mean, how is that going to happen? What is the vision?
So first of all, what the president said, and I actually would like to really credit him for his statement, is he said in a very direct manner, for many years, the Iranian people have been asking for the Western leadership to create the opportunity for them to create a new future for Iran and a new regime for Iran. So what we are doing right now is offering them this opportunity, really helping them out by creating an opportunity, by weakening the regime dramatically that has been oppressing them for decades. Now, what will replace them? There's many different options. Anything that any type of option, whether it is a massive uprising, whether it is a more effective leadership from within the current regime or from the opposition parties, any type of government that says we are no longer going to pose a threat to the region, to Israel, to the United States, to India, and to other allies in the region, any other regime that will be there and say, we want to first and foremost prioritize building Iran, and to paraphrase President Trump, to make Iran great again, anyone that is their top priority, instead of trying to use their precious resources to be able to threaten other nations, including Israel, any other regime would be very welcomed.
All right, Matty Gil, we leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective on what is really happening in the Middle East right now. Let me also get in a word from retired Lieutenant General Asit Mistry, who is a defense expert. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on Times Now. You just heard the view of Israel on what is happening in the Middle East. I mean, what is your understanding? Because everyone that we are speaking with from Israel or from the United States of America who are for this operation against Iran are saying that it is the opportunity for Iranians to take control. What is your understanding? What are we, preparing for? What is likely to come up next?
Good afternoon to you, and wish you a happy Holi to all your viewers.
Thank you, sir.
Unfortunately, the Israeli friend has left. But my understanding is that anything short of a regime change as an objective of this campaign would be short selling it. If only undermining the offensive capability of Iran and Iranian regime were the objectives, then that should have been achieved in the 12-day war in June last year. Within about 7-8 months of 12-day war, you've again launched a campaign, and anything that is short of a regime change is now probably seems like a afterthought to kind of justify the action that has already been started, but they are finding the resistance. So far, the tactical execution of the campaign is quite laudable. It's brilliant, great effect. But will it lead to the strategic results that are desirable at the end of the campaign is a moot question at this stage.
Lieutenant General Asit Mistry, do you have any clarity on what the objectives really are? Because if you look at the statements that have come from US President Donald Trump, then those have been quite confusing. I mean, we are all perplexed after listening to him every second day. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Well, you see, the simple question is, what are the ultimate objectives of this campaign? Degrading the offensive capability of Iran, undermining its ability to pose a threat to its neighbors, are all means to an end. The ultimate end result of this campaign ought to be a regime change. Anything short of that is a short sell. And therefore, you have to look at it as to what is the strategic effect this campaign is going to produce. Anything short of that regime change is, in my view, not achieving the purpose. Undermining the nuclear capability, that ought to have been done in the 12-day war. Undermining its naval capability so that it does not interfere with the traffic through the Hormuz Strait. Yes, it is a means to an end of undermining the ability of regime to sustain itself.
Okay. So,
degrading the capability of IRGC is a means to an end of weakening the regime, but that should not be the end in itself.
Okay.
You see the difference between means to an end and by
Yes.
itself.
Yes.
Okay, that's the difference.
Yes. So
And while the use of air power can degrade the military capability, it can decapitate the leadership. Can it create an alternate political leadership? That is a big question.
We don't really see that happening. We don't really see any signs of that happening as well, isn't it?
Exactly. There are no indications of that kind of thing happening. Maybe it may happen a week down the line, 10 days down the line, and somebody has to be working behind the scenes in mobilizing the masses.
Right.
Probably some, int operatives of both Mossad and CIA may be at work, and obviously it will not be, made public at the moment. But unless some kind of mobilization of masses is done, unless you identify an alternate leadership that needs to be promoted and must be made acceptable to people, how do you create an alternate model?
Right. Sir, I'm just interrupting you there. A question to please stay on with us. We are getting more inputs as well at this point in time on the story. The IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, in fact, have launched an urgent evacuation warning to the citizens of southern Lebanon, stating that Hezbollah's activities are forcing Israeli military to operate in the area. Civilians have been instructed to immediately leave their homes and move north of Litani River. IDF warned that anyone near Hezbollah terrorist facilities or weapons risks their lives and that buildings used for military purposes may be targeted. Let's go back to my guest who continues to be with us at this point in time. Sir, for Israel, it is a two-front war now. One, of course, from Iran, the strikes that it is continuously facing. On the other hand, the front that it has opened with, Lebanon, because it's fighting Hezbollah there. And how do you see it moving ahead and the kind of statements that have come from the governments, the establishment in Lebanon?
Well, you see, Israel is quite used to fighting multi-front challenges. If you see, since 7th October 2023, it has been fighting a multi-front war, actually. While it was tackling, its primary front was towards Hamas, it tackled Hezbollah. Once it had, managed the Hamas threat, then it focused its attention on Hamas, on Hezbollah. It also, in the meantime, tried to sort out the threat from Houthis, and so on. So therefore, Israelis are quite adept at facing multi-front challenges and threats. In fact, right since their birth as a nation, they are used to that. But what is indicative now, at the beginning of this campaign, it was assumed that the Iranian regional proxies are more or less defanged. The recent last 24 hours activities by Hezbollah does indicate that Hezbollah is not as badly defanged as it was assumed to be. It has sufficient, interference value or nuisance value for lives in northern Israel being made unsafe.
Right.
And therefore, this precautionary move of, moving forward the Israeli land forces into southern Lebanon so that it can push back the Hezbollah and thereby safeguard the villages in northern Israel.
Right. We're getting another important update, sir, and I would like to get your reaction as well on that one. What we have learned is that the farewell that was planned for Khamenei in Tehran's prayer hall has been postponed. The ceremony, new schedule, is going to be announced later, is what we have learned. Your comments on this?
Well, at the moment, not much is known about the ceremony, but it may be because of the risk posed, because there may be some concentration of leadership for the ceremony, and they may have apprehended maybe interference by Israelis and the Americans. So considering the safety of the regime and its leaders, they may have decided to postpone it, or even risking, they also may have apprehended mobilization by masses against the leadership. Right. So at this stage, we don't have enough inputs to make a conclusive direction as to why this has done.
All right. So thank you very much for speaking with us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective. We're slipping into another very, very short break. Coming back with lots more. Don't go anywhere.